And welcome back to Island Life Live. 2024 is Kamakahiki o Nā Manuna Hele, the year of the forest birds. And our Island Life team has been obsessed with them, but not as much as the team at the Kauai Forest Bird Recovery Project. Now joining me is one of its project leaders, Dr. Lisa Callie Crampton. Aloha, doctor. How are you?
Aloha, I'm well, thank you.
I want to mahalo you and all your teams for all the work you do to promote knowledge, appreciation, and conservation of Kauai's native forest birds. Can you tell us about this particular project, paying homage to the last Akikiki in the wild?
Sure, well, and thank you for that. The Akikiki is a bird that we have been studying since 2015 when we realized that its populations were on the brink of collapse. Back in 2015, we partnered with Fish and Wildlife Service, Division of Forestry and Wildlife, and the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance to start creating a conservation breeding population of Akikiki. So we collected eggs and sent them to safe holding with the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance's facilities in Maui and Hawaii. And that process allowed us to really document, unfortunately, the demise of the species, because every year we went out there and there were fewer and fewer birds. And we had to identify these birds individually because we needed to make sure that we only collected eggs from them once and not more than once. And so these birds almost became our friends and neighbors. And, come 2020, there were two Akikiki in the landscape. We as humans were all living this COVID pandemic, and sorry, I shouldn't say on the landscape. I should say at this one particular site that we were working at. There were other Akikiki in other places, but in this one particular place we had been working at where we really knew the Akikiki well, there were only a couple of pairs left, and we were in the middle of our own pandemic. And I think a lot of us sort of felt like we were watching two pandemics happen, one happening to the Akikiki and one happening to us as people. And so we actually sounded the alarm. We're like, we really need to do something about this species. We started trying to capture more Akikiki from the rest of the range last year, only really to literally watch the remaining Akikiki go extinct before our very, very eyes. And so at this point, we unfortunately know that there are fewer than 5 Akikiki left in the landscape. They are going to go extinct in the wild in the next year or two. Luckily, we have 45 Akikiki in those conservation breeding populations. But this really is our opportunity to say aloha to the Akikiki that we have known and loved in the wild, because we're not going to see them for a few years. And we really want to pay them this tribute, this utmost respect for everything that they have taught us about themselves and about optimism in the face of a crisis in our native bird populations, and that we have to keep fighting the good fight because the birds that are left keep fighting the good fight, and our hats are off to them. And we just look forward to a time when all the mosquito control projects that we are working on allow us to make their environment safe for them again and allow us to release those 45 Akikiki from captivity and back into the wild again. So for us, this is really like a hui ho. And really, really full of hope that there will one day be Akikiki in the landscape. But in the meantime, we just need to acknowledge that we're not going to see very many Akikiki for the next year or two.
Well, I like the fact that you're using the terminology ahuiho, until we meet again. It's not an aloha, it's an ahuiho. So I'm so hopeful, and I love the message of hope that you guys are actually putting forth with your team there, that there is 45 in captivity, but still 5 in the wild. Now, I just got to ask you, how can we, as the public, help to ensure our native birds are safe and protected?
Well, what we like to say is we need to give the birds the voice that they have lost, right? Right now, the birds are going quiet in our forests, but we can be their voices. We can speak up for them and champion the birds. We can say we need to do these conservation measures. We need more funding for the birds. This is important to us. And you can add your voices to the chorus, add your voices to the song. You can reach out to your lawmakers. You can reach out to those in your community and say, hey, let's rally around these birds and make sure they still have a voice.
I love that. So we all have a kuleana on ensuring that our native birds are around for a very long time. And we thank you so much, Dr. Lisa Callie Crampton, again, a project leader from the Kauai Forest Bird Recovery Project. Thank you so much for all the work that you and your team are doing. And thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Mahalo.